But you got a copy of, what is that film called, the Barbara Koppel one that I saw?
Keeping On.
Okay.
Keeping On.
And she was trying to do what you told me originally. She told you to sort of tell more truthfully the way
She was trying to tell the truth of the story. And I don't know, seriously, Horton Foote, the man that directed, Horton Foote, he's the one that directed To Kill a Mockingbird. He gained fame doing that.
Mm-hmm.
He was disenchanted with her. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to talk to me. He says, talk to me 6 months after the film shows.
That's about now. It's
That's
getting
about
late
now.
now.
Getting about now.
Yeah. Some way, it seemed to me in some way she lost a vitality or something. There was something lacking in the story. It didn't have the keen interest to hold the people, you know.
Yeah.
I don't say it became a lecture. It was more like the
like
beauty
you say,
of things were lost. You know?
Something is lacking there, and I don't know how to.
You think she meant to do?
She meant
show the role of the blacks better than the original film.
I think she wanted to accent the black role.
Well, she did that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure whether she was trying to downplay what Norma Ray did of the way you sought out Crystal Lee Jordan, you know, and decided somebody was first rate, you know. I don't remember how she handled that, or whether she deliberately picked up
Well, see,
a lower key actress, you know.
Stayed away from that in a sense because the problem we had is to convince the white people. And that is why.
Do you think the movie, in a way, by staying on the accenting the blacks, which is what you first did, was line up blacks,
Well,
right?
see, the blacks lined themselves up.
Yeah.
Really. They were organized. The blacks were. When I came there.
Yeah.
My problem was with the whites. And that was a constant problem until till the very end.
Yeah.
And that is why I guess the Norma Ray featuring the white people came about.
And I guess she was backing away from making it seem like another version of Norma Ray by accenting. And yet that was the central thing when you used to talk to me about it, you were trying to achieve, was get some whites with guts to do something, you know?
Yeah.
I remember you used to say, you know, this woman's really all I've got. There's no one else that'll step forward to the extent she will.
Well, there were several whites, but she was the main one.
Do you remember the names of those different villages you used to visit there?
Well, the guy that portrayed the black in Keeping On came from Littleton. He's from
Well,
Littleton,
that's down the road
north,
about 15 miles. Yeah, I know that.
about north of 15 miles. Like headed toward 85. Littleton.
I was meaning
Henderson.
That's people that are traveling for work. I was meaning inside of Roanoke Rapids. You see, earlier there have been several different mills, and they went by different nicknames. The old cotton mill villages. Did they still bear those names?
Yeah,
When you got there, I couldn't remember. Like
Roanoke. Roanoke 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Patterson.
The groups of housing that went around those mills were nicknamed the same way, weren't they? Where you were.
Yeah.
And the black mill village used to be out at the edge of town. Is it still there?
Yeah.
More run-down houses in the early days.
Well, it's the what they call shotgun houses, style houses, just simple houses. That's where I used the black church that was featured in Norma Ray.
Yeah. Did they actually film that church in Norma Ray, or did they create another one like it?
They created another one, which was a sad thing because the one that we met in was really beautiful.
And they could have got it by asking for it, huh?
Yeah. And I just don't understand
them changing the story that much.
Changing the story that much, yeah. It was a...
Of course, The problem, I guess, of lawsuits and all is that
I guess.
they're trying to say it's not a true story, you know what I mean? And it's not Roanoke Rapids. They didn't want to be in Roanoke Rapids.
Yeah.
I think the cotton mill that they used was in Alabama for Norma Ray.
Something similar to that.
But you haven't, in a way, I get a feeling Barbara Coppola must have known as she looked at it, the final result. That it hadn't, you know, when you've been to see Harlan County, USA, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's vital. It's sparkles.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. There was that lacking in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it ended and you didn't know where you were when it ended.
Yeah. I think you're right. So
Seriously.
she doesn't even know your criticism. She hasn't
I know.
called to ask your opinion.
Yeah.
Now,
As a
Harlan,
matter of fact, I called her and she's never returned my call. And
Yeah.
I don't know whether she's on
I think she
another
must have
project.
gotten disappointed with the whole thing.
Possibly. I'm disappointed in her attitude because I hung in with her.
You were the only one. I mean, it began
Yeah.
with you and Crystal Lee
Crystal
Jordan together.
divorced herself from her.
Yeah.
She went with Hollywood, so to speak. And the movie.
What do you mean she went to Hollywood? Tell me what you mean.
Well, she eventually went to visit with the producer, and she was wined and dined by those people. The Southfield.
Yeah. Oh, the Norma Ray people.
Norma
I
Ray
met her
people, yeah.
finally and
Yeah.
took her. At first, she was with Barbara Koppel wanting
She was
another
all-
version, right?
She was all the way with Barbara Koppel, and then
So
she
you and
reversed
she were the
herself.
pressure for a
Yeah.
different version. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
And that didn't.
What did you hope to achieve? What was in your mind when you went to Barbara Koppel?
What we
Oh.
wanted was something for posterity that might be like you're talking about, outlining a course, a course of organizing the unorganized. We felt we had all the ingredients there
Mm-hmm.
in the people. We had everything physically on location to set up somebody with good movie producing ability could maybe put together a story that could be used as an outline for an organizational drive no matter where. But that somehow it lacks it.
But she never reviewed the script with you in advance.
Well,
Yeah.
She sent me copies of the script, and the fact that you deal by mail instead of maybe
In person.
in person, I talked with her in person, but that was the very, very early stages.
Mhm.
I feel that we should have got together when Foote was hired to produce
Mhm.
it,
What did you say he had produced? What made his reputation?
To Kill Mockingbird. That movie.
Kill a
To
Mockingbird.
Kill
Yeah,
a
that was a very
Mockingbird.
good.
He's
film.
done quite a few stories since. They're all supposed to be true situations.
Mhm.
And he's a noted, he fits into her sphere of thinking,
Mhm.
I would think.
Mhm.
But apparently, they disagreed, and I don't know the story.
And
I
he
sort of
said,
gathered
wait
the story
6 months. to talk
because
to me."
he says, I don't want to talk about it
Mhm.
until,
You never talked about him in advance of the film. You never talked to him first.
he questioned me.
He did by telephone or
By
no?
telephone, which was, and he says that he
He's a New
realized
York-based director or what?
He's in Maine, or,
Maine.
well, I think New Hampshire or somewhere.
Mhm.
He's up in the
Mhm.
northeast.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, I'm thinking maybe of calling him and visiting
Mhm.
with him, since I'm not doing anything, and hopefully maybe I can sit down with him.
Well, you could tell it was intended something. It
Yeah.
didn't come off.
It didn't come off,
hmm
and that,
You know, at the end, what you sort of looked around the
Yeah.
room with people that you got together. Well, what
Word
was it? What were they meaning? You know,
There you go, yeah.
they'd lost your intent, and I don't see how they could have carried out your intent without having you constantly, you know, with them, the organizing. You know, they were
Well,
trying to do an organizing film.
That is where I feel Barbara thinks that she's an organizer, and she's not.
Uh-huh.
As a result, I think that maybe that's where she gets in trouble with people.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Foote, maybe that she got in trouble with him
Mm-hmm.
by questioning his.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man was supposedly with a lot of experience in filmmaking, in dealing with human relations subjects, and probably
Mm-hmm.
she didn't agree with his method, and as a result, it turned out like it did.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember, was it musical in part, or was it all by straight dialogue?
Pretty much dialogue.
I wanted to be sure I wasn't confusing it. Did you ever see Studs Terkel's Working, one of them on PBS?
That played last night, and
That was
something
pure musical.
musical.
Yeah, and
That's the
began to
reason-
be just entertainment, you know.
That's the reason I didn't watch it.
I watched it, and it was like more like song and dance
Yeah.
than the reality of a steel worker or the reality of
That
a...
played last night at 9 o'clock.
Hmm?
That played
I didn't know
last
that.
night.
No, that's a rerun they've done
Yeah,
here. I saw it when it first came on.
yeah.
Again, I don't know what Studs Terkel intended, since he appeared to introduce the different parts, but it had lost all of what to me was significant into a musical.
Yeah,
You know, what people would remember is the dances and the songs and not anything of what he was trying to originally say.
Well, I don't know that Keeping On has done anything as far as organizing is concerned. I'm sure it hasn't.
Mhm.
As a result, it may be that a third picture will have to be put together.
You never give up.
No, well, you can't.
You can't do
give
that.
up,
No.
really. Somewhere the story has to be told and shown to where it can be
Well,
workable.
the other sad thing is the union's incapability, even at a distance, like to leave those events behind and bring you back to Roanoke Rapids. You know, here you are curious as to what's in place, and they're making their piece with every kind of element going, and maybe that's the goal I ought to set myself, huh? Bringing Eli back to Roanoke Rapids. So.
Well, I was thinking about doing some traveling since I'm incapable of working right now
Well, you
Maybe
can go with,
for
well, your Chapel Hill is not
therapy.
far, huh?
for therapy.
Yeah. How's driving? Hard on you?
Well,
Without Pearl to drive you or something?
I tend to hesitate driving distances
Yeah.
because of my weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize a person could get so weak, honest to God.
Mhm.
I mean, physically weak.
Mhm.
I know what weak means.
Well, I know how strong you were, so it's aggravating to
I
me.
don't know. I never thought I was strong, but I'm weak now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
No, I
could
think
go
you
for
were,
hours.
Eli. I don't have to remind you when
I could go
when
for
you would
hours.
decide to do a Serbian dance out there at a UMW convention. You did one, didn't you? Trying to remember, was Pearl out at that Denver convention? Yeah, I thought she was.
Yeah,
That backyard, you remember, of
Yeah.
my sister-in-law?
yeah.
We had a ball that time with Howard
That
and
was
Ashley,
fun.
and that was
Yeah,
fun,
the
wasn't
whole-
it?
the
One,
whole-
a lot of the rank and filers, I think of, that were there then
Oh, yeah.
at the UMW convention.
And of course-
Eli, the board here is so much better.
Yeah.
I think, under Trunka, there's a chance of the union unifying
Yeah.
again. And some of these new guys that have come forward who are in that Trunka spirit, this new sub-district board member here is a beauty, Rick Yanero.
Yeah.
He took a seat on the board.
Yeah.
he takes it so seriously.
Yeah.
He reads everything.
Yeah.
He comments on everything, you know. I mean, he's the dream of what could be
I know.
out of the
I'm
young
fascinated
guy.
with the young people.
Yeah, I mean, he's been to college for a couple of years,
Yeah.
but he's been in the mine for 7 or 8 years. He's come out on
Yeah.
election. He's popular. But he sees through the people that know nothing, even if they
Yeah.
hold higher office than him.
Sure.
You know, he knows they're opportunists who,
Yeah.
they blow with every wind, you know, in the office. He isn't that way at all.
Yeah, I like Rick.
Mm-hmm. And you keep hoping, well, maybe a few more like this, and you could turn this thing around.
Huh? It's possible. It'll have to be done.
Mm-hmm.
If not, it'll all be lost.
Well, I talked to one of Trunca's top aides in connection with this celebration. We talked for about an hour.
Yeah.
He was predicting what they anticipated from the operators is an onslaught on 3 fronts when the negotiations open. One, they've got to have productivity. They got to break the work rules to have that. The union's going to have to give up a lot of the work rules, Saturday and Sunday. Well, they work, get it round the clock, 24 hours, and other work rules of he didn't indicate, but I think he meant things like roof bolt drillers, put them back, behind where the numbers of men in a crew, or, this kind of thing. The second thing he expects, and he regarded this as the toughest, I mean the one in which the arguments against them are the weakest, you see. On the others you can just end the funds and let each company take over its own pensioners with a company pension book, because you can't go west and organize, you can't go anywhere and take on a new coal company that has no pensioners and say, you have to pay royalty for these people that Consol, kissed off 40 years ago.
40 years ago, yeah.
Anyway, you understand what his point was, that
yeah.
one is a difficult one to argue with, because the union sees the point even in the bargain. The third one, he says, is health care. He thinks they're going to say the health care costs are enormous and you guys have got to carry a burden of it. Hit them with harder deduct. Instead of solving the problems of health care, and dealing with the mansions and the abusers, they're going to say, hey, you guys pay more of the bill,
Yeah.
You remember the old 250, 500, that?
Yeah.
You're making big money, you pay them.
That's not the solution.
No, but you can see what they anticipate.
I know, yeah.
I think they're probably guessing right,
Yeah. That's either that, maybe, or...
It was fascinating to me as we talked. He was explaining, we should have a telegram of greeting in Fairmont, because if any place, if the doctors ever went on strike against the miners anywhere, the clinic belonged to us. It was our response, more than anywhere else. It had to be done by you were on the UMW staff. He knew his history well.
Yeah.
He says, we should have a telegram of greeting. And then Hunter, and you were decisive in backing up, the black lung stuff and all, and you brought the aid. He knew his history. He says, now let me tell you my problems. See, Raymond had been talking to him, and I said, well, a reporter down at the Charleston Gazette said, you call a guy named Joe Corcoran. He worked in the mines. He's director of public information. He knows an awful lot. He's really politically very hep. So I did, and he was very hep, like I told you.
Yeah.
Guess what he said now? It was a lot easier to run the campaign than it is to hold office. He says, you ought to see how it works now. When you ran the campaign, the 3 officers knew they had to get elected. So if in the morning Church said something wrong, attacked them as communists or something, I didn't have to reach any of the 3 of them. We'd met so many times. We knew each other's mind. I could issue a statement by noon and be on the evening TV in the name of Trump. You follow me? And the officers. Not only have none of them have been connected. You follow me? It's the biggest. You see what I mean? I could write it my way and they'd call up and congratulate. Now we hold office. Now we got an executive board. Now we have to maintain alliances with conservative district presidents. Yeah, I brought it 31, right? So he says, Rich is on vacation. He orders a plane. I can't issue the statement. I know he'd endorse it, see?
Yeah.
Second, if he got back in time Friday, he'll want to check with the vice president. He'll want to check with the secretary treasurer. He might want to clear it into the district. And I thought, oh, we know who that would be, Let's not get into controversy. It might offend Provident, right? We were laughing, because I said, I hope you know the difference in 31 between people who know what the score is and people that will hold office under anybody, He said, we know. We've got a big vote out of 31, but we know the difference and why. People who believe in us and people who riding with the winner. They're nice guys, but I tell you, their work's cut out for them.
Oh, yeah.
Hell, the big oil companies own and run the whole show.
Yeah.
Now, we got more things back there, Eli, and I don't know whether how much you can eat.
There's plenty.
Okay.
Thanks.
Nick Scrivo's mother made these little Italian things with
I might eat one of them.
center. That's coconut. And we have other things back there. If you'd like them, I can find out what they are.
No, I'll do it.
You want a yogurt or anything like
Yeah,
that?
thanks. I've got plenty.
Not without lactate, though.
See, I've got my capacity with the sandwich.
Yeah. Since the surgery, your capacity is much less, huh?
And now, after you eat often, an hour from now, I want to eat and I don't want to eat. And that's...
Are you supposed to eat often, they tell you?
Yeah, I'm supposed to have like at least 6 meals a day.
Because you can only eat half as much as another person.
Right. And that's...
How about the digestion? Do you have other problems like
No.
constipation or
No,
what about?
thank God
It
I
goes
don't.
through you okay.
Yeah.
And the other organs around the abdomen are all okay, liver
Okay, yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. Just going to take time, I guess, to adjust.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just a slow process, and I'm impatient.
Mhm. Well, I told you, it's become a new fashionable operation. You've already
I
had it,
know,
huh?
yeah.
Removal of 85% of the stomach, I heard the other night from this guy. It's his new solution to
Yeah.
dieting. I thought, well, I don't want to do anything that bad to test. And you wouldn't have done it voluntarily, I know.
Hardly. No, I could maintain my weight otherwise.
I have not heard that Crystal Lee Jordan is still working for the union and on the
I
road.
would presume
but
she would be.
I think she'd be useful to them for just a payroll job unless they got very hard up. The
Yeah.
layoffs could make them so hard up
Yeah.
they can't afford it anymore. But why would they want her to turn against them? The film is still a good weapon for them.
Yeah.
That's what's sort of sad here, is that Norma Jean, for the weaknesses that it has that youth have emphasized, it still is a pro-union picture.
Yeah.
This other one, despite the intentions of the producer, is not a weapon really, is
I
it?
know.
Hmm?
It isn't. No.
You wouldn't show it to a group of organized workers. They wouldn't
No,
understand where you were,
No, not really. It falls short.
Even to motivate black people, because there are better films to motivate black people. You'd
Yeah.
rather show Martin Luther King speaking, wouldn't you, than,
There you go.
wouldn't you use it as an organizer rather than
2 minutes with Martin Luther King will
do more than this film will, yeah.
Do more than this.
She just didn't pull off what she...
I don't understand.
I'll tell you the other thing, I'm surprised when she fails to pull it off, why PBS puts it on. I mean,
I know.
it was not worth what she set out to do. It hadn't achieved it.
It fell short of masterpiece theater qualities.
That's right. It very much. Well
Seriously.
put, yeah. That's well put.
For instance, I saw a true story on Masterpiece Theater following that, maybe 2 or 3 weeks,
Mhm.
and it was tremendous.
Superb acting, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, Masterpiece Theater, the English actors and the working class stuff they put on is really,
Yeah,
they can show a veterinarian in the country and it has such reality compared to our pictures and
Yeah.
stuff.
that's is astounding what they can do.
Yeah. And the class issue is subtly portrayed there, but you know it's being shown that one person's an aristocrat and the other is a servant, you know.
Right.
And here there are no subtleties, you know, it's not. I think what she tried to do was take the original job you did of linking the black unified community to the Union, you know, and emphasize that to get away from what Norma Ray had done maybe as a film, you know.
Well,
Or when she tried to switch, it didn't come off, you know.
it just didn't come off, and I can't, I'll have to talk with this Horton Foot. I think he'll have to be the key to it.
Well, what I wonder is, in a way, when he read it, he's a skilled man. Didn't he know it didn't come off? You know, what could actors do with it?
That's
The
why.
words weren't there,
You see,
you know.
he didn't, my understanding is he didn't.
Who wrote it? Did Barbara Koppel write the script?
Well, he wrote it.
He wrote it.
But see, what he wrote and what he attempted to portray.
Did he direct it as well, or no?
Well,
You don't?
I don't know.
Okay. She was the producer and director, you think, or
I think she had direction and.
Oh, and I wasn't clear on that. That he was the
I'm not
writer. Was he the original writer of
He's a
Kill a
screenwriter.
Mockingbird? And
Yeah.
he did not direct it, he just wrote the book.
I don't know.
Okay.
See, I don't know him,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to. I feel maybe I can get the answer from him. I think he'll talk, but just on
Yeah.
his grounds.
You have his phone number.
Yeah. So I told him I'd be in touch with him. I didn't want to bother him, but I'm interested.
He said he didn't want to talk about it at all after. You caught him right after it was produced?
Right after it was produced, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't shown yet, you know.
Yeah. You hadn't
He
seen
said-
it yet, but you were
Yeah.
trying to talk to
He
him.
didn't, I don't think he had seen it yet. So it was at that stage, so he said.
Or he might have seen it and didn't want to talk with you because he was sick at what he had
Well,
seen, maybe, you know.
maybe, yeah.
Maybe he'd seen it in a private showing.
Probably.
They might have argued, you know. He might have
Could
said
be.
it didn't catch
Yeah.
fire, you know.
She had difficulty with the guy that portrayed me, apparently.
Yeah.
What's his
Mhm.
name now?
You have it. You have the film where we could show it,
huh?
huh? Would we be able to show it here at the clinic?
You have a cassette?
Raymond will know what we have. I think we have a thing that can show, yeah, that kind of, I don't know what you call it.
That's, you know,
Yeah, well, you got the little thing and it fits
RCA
into,
fits
yeah.
in.
I think it fits, because they
Fits
can
on
show, when
TV.
I appeared on the Today Show, they can show that here, you know.
Yeah, well,
They can take what the TV
Yeah.
camera, yes.
yeah.
I think Raymond had got that under the health education because he gets those films, you see,
Yeah.
that are produced with PBS and all.
You can take it up to college and see it.
Yeah, but I think he has one that we
Right here, yeah.
we might show to a group here while, if you could come back over,
Sure.
we might take a look at it because I'd value your comments while it was on, you know,
Yeah.
as to what it was doing or immediately in reaction to it.
Yeah.
The, you know, as against what you originally intended.
Yeah.
How would you have gone about showing on a film how to organize?
Well, I tried to convince Barbara originally
Mm-hmm.
that a true organizer, is really a man in the background or a woman in the background. He uses people.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I used Joe Williams, the black man that was portrayed in Keeping On.
Mm-hmm.
I used Crystal Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I used these people. I wanted them to do the organizing, not me.
Yeah.
I was there for simply as a guide. I was there to check, counter-check, and make sure that they didn't stop when they had it going, and they could stop maybe back off when there was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the role. The organizer is not the man up front.
Mhm.
Maybe to meet with people and whatnot, but in order for him to have an organizing campaign going on like I did at Roanoke Rapids, I had to depend on the in-plant organizer totally. I couldn't depend on even my peers that were there to organize with me, because they spoke with the different ideas. You have to have the idea, you have to drive the idea home. You educate to the point that there's no question. And that's the way to convince the Southern people to accept union organization. I often said that we are not the union. I'm not the union. You are the union.
Mm-hmm.
And we go from there. Now, I think maybe she tried to do that with this black character.
Mm-hmm.
And she fell short there, although I thought he was a pretty good character. Portrayed that Anthony Williams, I thought he portrayed.
The best character, as far as you're concerned, was the actor who played the black
I liked him.
Williams. Yeah, I thought he came closest.
He came closest.
Well,
He showed the patience of the Southern worker in the fact that it's not going to happen quickly and all at once. He showed portrayed a lot of patience. That's necessary. And that is necessary. Us Northerners, we're impatient, and we fail to capitalize on the patience that the Southern worker has, I feel strongly. And to me,
well, look at Roanoke Rapids. I mean, it had had local union organizers around since the 30s.
I know.
It had a long history.
yeah,
I didn't get to tell you, but I don't think I did. A guy returned to the university to speak who had left it in 1940 as a student.
yeah,
But before he went into service, he was sent by, I don't know who, one of the CIO unions or something, because he went over to Winston-Salem. Then he said he went into Roanoke Rapids. I'd never heard him, any of this. But to get back to how he got there, he became trained in the Chinese language by the U.S. Army. So he was sent to be one of General Marshall's translators. There were about 15 or 20 of these Army privates who were trained. And in the course of that, he came to know Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai and the Chinese communist leaders. And as the war ended, they said, why don't you come see the headquarters, as a matter of courtesy, before you discharged. So he had never returned, actually. He'd spent 16 years in prison during the course of it. He'd married in China. He'd been caught up in their turmoil, you know what I mean? So he'd been, like Zhou Enlai regarded his imprisonment as very unjust, treating him like a spy. So he sent him the New York Times. He saw that he and the guards played poker in a compound. It was like a crazy story, I mean, to realize the fight within the Gang of Four business, you follow me, how they did these things. But the crowd just loved him and ate him up. So when he had come back, he had told the director of the thing, is Professor Erickson there? And they said, no, he's dead. Is Professor Stone? No. No one he knew. He was like Rip Van Winkle. You see, he'd been gone for almost 40 years. And he says, is there a union organizer from Greensboro named Mike Ross around? He used to come to the university. they said there's a Union guy is back here, but he's at the university. It was a total coincidence. So we talked, and in the course of it, I was telling him about Norma Ray. So he didn't know any of this, and of your work, and he began telling, and he has a phenomenal detailed memory,
Yeah.
He began describing, while I was asking the names of he named the village as he came into town.
Yeah.
It was on the left, and who he met up with, and he named the families. I ought to go back and get that.
Yeah.
He named the families he stayed with that were pro-Union, that protected him, you follow me then? And I wondered if, any of their descendants were around when you got there. These were
Probably,
whites,
Probably were. Or,
but real good people.
yeah.
He said apparently in 1934, he got there like in 1940.
Yeah.
1934,
Yes,
maybe they'd been a socialist organizer or something in there, because this family had been influenced that way, you
Yeah.
follow me? And they were very strong.
Yeah.
You used milk in the coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was,
What's his name?
this guy's name is Sid Rittenberg, and he was he was the son of the mayor of Charleston, South Carolina. So when he came to the university, he was like a known quantity of a distinguished family,
Yeah.
a Southern family who the crowd liked, about 250, 300 people listened to him. When you get a campus like that, there's first of all about 50, 60 Chinese missionaries in the area, that have been to China, China buffs. So,
Yeah.
a lot of other people were just curious. And, full house. And it was pretty wild because there were 4 pickets out front, you see, since he had been to China.
Yeah.
And had been imprisoned by the Gang of Four. You see, they were carrying signs, we represent the communist, some, not the Communist Party, there's so many fractions. It's the Communist Workers' Party. The ones that were in that Greensboro shootout, you remember the Klan, they go to violence easily or something. And the Gang of Four were right, and he is a criminal, this kind of thing. Nobody even on it. What that doesn't even mean anything in American terms. The Gang of Four is right. But he spoke about it, and the most phenomenal thing under the question period, people said, well, how many years were you in solitary? He mentioned being in solitary, and he said 6 of the 16 years. They said, how do you survive it? He said, well, he described it as a very narrow cell and a hard wood bed. And what he decided to do, that the only way to keep his mind functioning, because now the pleasant period of imprisonment was over, apparently Zhou Enlai was on the decline, and the people around Mao near his death were really, in other words, it didn't matter that he was a journalist and simply sympathetic in general to the Chinese people. Obviously he was American, so he was a spy of some sort, He was very objective in describing both the strengths and the weaknesses, what communism had achieved for the people. It was totally different, he said, in China, what it had done, for a peasant society. He was rather positive. Despite his imprisonment, you see, he could be fairly objective as to what the general movement had done. But he said the way you kept your sanity was to make your mind. I would start with parts of my youth, then I would say I could stay in college, and I would try to pick out of it daily events, and so that when they would say, well, how do you remember what Dr. Graham, the president of the universe, said to you when you were sick in the infirmary? He said, it's because you get enormous powers of recall. He said, I've always had a sort of a journalist sense of remembering detail, like they say some sheriffs are, so that
Yeah.
You know, I remember a person's name after I've met him. I remember his face, you know. He says, so I was simply using my memory to, and it was a way to also keep your sanity. I mean, I could go back and enjoy each period, you know. I could go back in my mind and not go batty, you know. But the interesting thing was, you see, he didn't discuss what I'm telling you about afterwards, but I got with him because, and Buddy was glad we brought him out the house and turned on the machine and said, hey, you were talking about, you said in the car you were in the Union, or when was all this, you know, and then, because there was real history, you see, that he was in Rona, and I've got it if you ever want to hear it, you know, him describing those old days, you know. Now this summer, he's coming back for a week-long seminar at the university on China, and then he's leading an alumni, people that want to spend $2,500 on a 3-week tour of the Great Wall, you know.
I see.
That's become a fashionable thing now, you know, go to China to see what it's doing. They used to go to here or go to there. Maybe Russia, Yugoslavia, you know, different things. People pretty soon people will be coming over here to see a rare example of a conservative government in the White House and massive unemployment. Huh?
Looks like it. Well, it's here.
Eli, aren't you surprised that the workers, as they exhaust unemployment, don't react more violently, more like the 30s? Aren't you surprised? Old timers, I think, are surprised.
So apathetic.
That I would understand as long as they got supplemental benefits, as long as they got unemployment, I would understand that. But they've run out now by the million, you know, several million of them have run out. What are they? They get madder over melon, you can see, like last night, but they don't seem to be mad at the man in Washington who's doing it.
They're not.
They don't seem to be class conscious or angry at the party that did it to them, you know.
As a matter of fact, they'll re-elect you.
Yeah.
I feel they...
And Jimmy Manchin will get elected to some office here.
Sure.
Because he quit talking issues and he's talking about God, motherhood, flag, and country, and medals.
It's a crying shame what we've come to.
Yeah. We have no politics in this country.
There's nothing.
You don't stand for minimum wage, public housing. You don't stand for issues. You stand for...
We're letting third world... ideas govern us. We're really...
What do you mean by that?
Well, not their ideas, but their levels.
Mm-hmm.
We're living by their standards.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to live by their standards. Well, like Murray Hunter and I talked.
Mm-hmm.
My God, the auto workers have given everything. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't said no to. They haven't fought one bit.
No.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Well, they give it up to save their jobs, and then the company shuts them down
It didn't
anyway.
save her job.
It doesn't save it.
No. Steel workers, that's...
They're giving up worse. They're going to give up more, in my opinion.
There is. Well, the hell, they've given up just about everything. So I don't know. It's really...
I think we've become a materialistic society in which they're going to want their motorcycle, they want their car, and they want their nice front lawn, and they'll keep giving up until they're out, they're starving, you know,
well,
piece by piece.
I don't know. I mean...
what do you predict about the mine workers when they demand give up, son?
Well, I hope that it doesn't happen 84.
It's coming up.
It's
Something's coming up
I'm
in the
sure.
demands.
Because we're not a majority union. We don't represent the
Wyoming
majority.
can produce it while they shut us down. So there's a
Well,
little more shipping costs, you know.
That's
The oil companies are everywhere. I mean, that's the difference. You see, it's not like it's competition.
Yeah.
If it was Consol and it wasn't owned by an oil company, it would say, hey, we're going to settle with them so we can be competitive with the oil company.
That's why today organizing should be number one throughout the jurisdiction, everywhere.
And it has to be national and multinational. I mean, you have to have that kind of organizing, really.
Really?
There has to be agreements with the Hong Kong Federation of Labor to go get that plant, go raise it up to American standards now, you know, or 80% of America, so that they don't want to go there, you know. Get your people a decent standard of living.
That's the thing.
I'd be hiring guys that spoke Chinese just like the Army did. You follow me?
Yeah.
Give them the message, put them through training, you know, here, and send them over to go talk to these federations where they're running away, you know.
Thank you.
Let me take this for you.
I'm gonna give you mine as well.
Okay. You need anything else, Mr. Ross?
I'll take a cup of coffee if that's...
With milk.
Yeah, you're very kind. Thank you.
That's what's on the agenda, I would say.
Well, I think what we're seeing, the dues they're paying now, Eli, to start with, is the failure of the American labor movement to organize the South. That's the first thing it's paying for. So the runaways are always from, you know, Mesta Machine to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, from, you know, Pittsburgh to North Carolina, Charleston's out somewhere, right, where they can save $2 or $3 an hour.
Yeah.
Then you see the next stage of runaway is directly abroad, or from Silicon Valley in California to Hong Kong, or a southern textile mill decides to go to Korea, or, you know what I mean, and shuts down and lays off the non-union workers.
Yeah.
You ought to see some of those interviews. You're not down there to read the newspapers.
Yeah.
The bitterness of those workers who say, but we voted down the union 4 times for the company. Now the whole mill's shut down, they've gone to Hong Kong, you know.
Yeah.
The tragedy, you know. Of,
nobody's taking advantage of that.
No one is going and recording those workers that are, you know, buy that TV film, right? Take it and show it to the non-union Southern workers. You see, I mean, look at do you want to be like this guy? That's what's going to happen. Voting no union doesn't give you a loyal company, you know. Hey, what you were saying about the give up. If you give it up, does that save your job?
No.
This is fine, Mr. Ross.
Thank you very much.
Is that too much cream or anything?
That's what's shocking. For instance, the big giants are not being left alone. We're not touching the giants.
No.
We're fearful. That's bad.
Look, when capital is organized on a multinational basis, when a meeting is held in London that has Tokyo people, Hong Kong people, that is the way a big company works now. The branch managers meet, they make decisions, close this, beat that, market that. And a labor movement sits here. He doesn't even know it's Canadian branches, right?
That's right.
It can't talk, it doesn't have Mexican-American workers to talk to Mexico, right? They move a lot of this stuff right along the Mexican border.
Yeah.
And let the people, you follow me, they work in Juarez, they come over and ship it out of El Paso back, you know. We're going to lose our shirt if this movement doesn't go to... It isn't radicalization as much as modernization. You just keep up with what's happening.
We're not keeping up.
Yeah. In fact, there is no... Let me tell you, we're beginning to get on the board, say the Marion County, better than we ever have, Federation people.
Yeah.
And you begin to see images. I mean, here's a town well organized. There is no, you know, Joe Powell is president of State Federation of Labor. Don Neptune called him. We've gotten his loyalty now. He made the trip with the board to see the coal life exhibit in Wheeling. He got on the phone, he called Joe Powell, and he said, hey, you're living in the past, the Willie Hagerhurst past and the Ray Morgan past. They used to say, give me a seat on the board at Fairmont Clinic or I won't be friends, okay? This is the only board. I'm on the board. Half the executive board of the Marion County Federation is on the corporate board now. We got Steve Cook, the smartest state senator, you know, succeeding Bill Moreland is our candidate. He's on the main board of directors. And you're telling us you sent a no thank you to an invitation to come up here. Well, I'm telling you, Joe, I'm not just twisting your arm. You'll hear from us if you're not here for this dinner, okay? He came up, okay? But the point I'm saying is, except for Ricky and Ari, let's take all the pieces of that now. The mine workers' leadership at the district level isn't equal to the trunca level of intelligence at the national, right? In some districts, this is very common to have this level of sort of backward opportunist, leadership. The Joe Powells are playing all kind of lazy politics. For instance, Marianne Watson, the Secretary-Treasurer at Marion County Federation, says, suddenly Joe Powell said, we want to honor the Marion County Federation of Labor for its excellent Labor Day things. So we would like to make Labor Day 1983 Solidarity Day your picnic in Marion County for all of West Virginia. Okay, so she's flattered with it. She shows me the letter. I said, hey, there's something very fishy here. I got out the Kiplinger letter, which is a big business letter.
Yeah.
It's like inside poop, for a businessman. Just 2 lines. Lane Kirkland, I read it to him. I just read that this week. I know what the bastard is. He's just gotten a letter because it's in this Kiplinger service. Lane Kirkland, National AFL-CIO president, has instructed every state federation president to hold a separate state Solidarity Day demonstration against the Reagan administration rather than assemble a national demonstration against Reagan because it might get out of hand. Now, that means that these letters didn't say because it might get out of hand. They're concluding that, okay? I said, let me tell you what it's all about. The labor leaders are more afraid today than anybody. Lane Kirkland doesn't dare anymore call a demonstration in Washington against. He got 750,000 people out in '81.
Yeah.
If he called one now, there'd be 500,000 steel workers come in here. There'd be 100,000. The steel workers would for sure call for McBride's head. I mean, it would be a demonstration against McBride. As good a socialist as Doug Fraser is, they'd call for the UAW guy's head, okay? I mean, those workers are angry. So they can't hold, the labor movement doesn't dare even hold a demonstration that would scare the shit out of it. That would put us on TV. It would be 3-4 million people. I know that from the Depression. I mean, if the Communist Party called a demonstration, there'd be 2-3 million people during unemployment. It was very dangerous. I mean, for everyone in terms of the thing. So what have they done? They broke it down to states. What does that mean? In a good progressive state, Miles Stanley, days, he would have in Charleston, the biggest city, called a meeting of the unemployed, to join with the labor movement and demonstrate against Reagan, What does Joe Powell do? Sends you a check for $500 to cover half your expense. You follow me? He was going to ride along and tell Lane Kirkland, I have my Solidarity Day, He'll come up and make a speech, see? Because she said, we had 1,000 people out last year, and Charleston can't pull out 50. See, no one knows how to. Yeah. Well, we've just had as a tradition, out at, where is it, at the park, at Hoff Park or somewhere,
Bunner's Ridge.
Bunner's Ridge, wherever they go, But the point is she says, really, it's not anything. It's just that our people, we're even mad at Harrison County. They say they'll come, they don't come,
Right.
But he's going to come speak now, you see. And I said, well, that's what it's about. He's going to write a letter now to Lane Kirkland and say, see, I've done it.
Yeah.
But they're all don't know how to organize the unemployed.
That's true.
They're afraid to get a mass movement going against Reagan because in the process, we know from the Depression, just as John L. Lewis took advantage of those communist demonstrations to say, hey, if the workers come out like that, I can organize. I mean, he wasn't dumb. He watched that, You could see it in any town. A communist, Earl Braddock had come to speak when I was a boy. Anyone would come listen to him. Then you knew a union organizer could get away with it, right? That was the way it was in those days. And that's what I believe would happen. If they ever called for everybody to get in buses and come to Washington, they'd come. And they'd camp out at the White House, and there would be clashes with the troops, you know, and Lane Kirkland wouldn't be able to be a statesman anymore. You know?
Right. That would, well, like I say, I'm disappointed. The FLCIO is headless right now.
Well, and we can't, you know, speak among the others. If you were to say that the district president here was the spokesman for District 31, he wouldn't have very much to say, would he, on an issue?
How's that?
The district president of 31, would he have very much to say by himself if you didn't help him say it?
Well, at least I'll give Cal credit there. He'll listen. And he's taken pages.
Well, I like the fact that he sent to you, you know, put you back on.
Yeah.
That's what I was proud of when I heard that.
Yeah. Well.
But, you know, I have more hope, actually, from more thoughtful people.
Yeah.
Carol's not one of the most deep people or thoughtful people, you know. Now, maybe if someone around like you is an advisor and he trusts you, then you can, you know, get his mind right. Are they doing much organizing locally?
Well, they've got an election tomorrow, a rerun. We lost it. We lost it back a year ago. Small mine at Monongah, one of Consol's old operations.
This is a surface operation,
No,
auger or
it's a small
something?
deep mine.
It is a deep mine?
Yeah, it's
How
the old
small a
Monongah-
mine do they run? Which one?
About 20 men. The old Monongah 8 mine.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. Why would they keep running it when they can't sell their production elsewhere?
Well, I think that, and I can't prove it, Consol awards their retirees, the retired officials, with this type of thing. They can play with...
You mean they give a retired guy the superintendentship of this?
well, not their superintendentship, but the control of the coal that I still think Consol maintains control.
Oh,
that,
it seemingly is a private mine,
yeah.
but you're calling it a Consol mine that they're buying his
Already,
production,
yeah.
you think? Huh?
Right.
Oh, you think they can also weaken the union if they can keep these
Right.
non-union?
Yeah, well, that's it. For instance, I feel strongly the accent should be on MAPCO, which is
No, about Tennessee up in
it's
Kentucky.
well,
But I mean, that's where I know them.
well,
in
they've
this
got 2
part of the
mines in
country.
Kentucky. They've got one in Maryland.
Mhm.
They got one in Illinois.
And they're non-union.
They're all non-union.
All non-union.
Hell, there's about 3,000 coal miners there, and I don't understand why they're not being gone after.
Eli, these young kids can't do it off the top of their head without
Well,
someone like you around to give them guidance. You don't learn off the top of your head. Didn't you serve an apprenticeship? I mean,
Well, I
you
did.
learn from older men.
Quite a
I served my
long
apprenticeship under white-haired man. You know, you don't have to follow everything they say, but you learn the ground
Right.
rules of how to do from them.
Yeah,
And some of the reformers tried to do it off the top of their head, like David
Right.
McAteer, right?
right.
It was a sort of joke. David McAteer, director of organization. What did he know? He'd never organized anything.
No,
What he could do is read a law book and figure out what the NLRB rules were, which is, you and I can do it too.
we
You know,
can do that.
but he didn't know what to do, how to organize. You know? So he organized nothing.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of non-union.
While in Preston County, they claim there's more of it coming in too. Is that true? Or
Well, see, I just saw in the paper where British people bought that.
I saw that
TBS.
story. Yeah, they
That's
own I don't know, huge reserves, millions.
There's huge millions of reserves, millions of tons of reserves.
Well, you know they'll keep it
Yeah.
non-union if they can.
Well, that leads to the fracturing of the British doing about the steel,
Well,
the Fairless Works.
yeah.
They're probably cutting deals, will cut deals
Well,
for the metallurgical coal.
if British capitalists are faced with a nationalized coal industry over there, and many of them are skilled in knowing the value of metallurgical coal and all, and steam coal, and they come over here and they do it.
Yeah,
Express their
yeah,
sense, you know,
yeah,
of entrepreneurship and making
Yeah.
money.
sure. That's
With the
That's what
colony
it's all
now,
about.
let's face it, we
what it's all about.
yeah, well, look at the Arabs. Everyone's coming over here and
Yeah.
buying a slice of the action, right?
Yeah,
We used to go over and buy a slice of the Arab
Yeah.
countries. They coming here now.
yeah. It's scary.
Well, it's scary. You and I won't have to face it. Yeah, I worry a little
Yeah.
bit for the kids and the grandkids, in a sense, who are, what kind of world is this going to be, you know? My
I have
kid
my
can
brothers.
keep up with the computers, and most of the younger kids are getting on that kind of thing, but I worry about a world in which it's all going to be so simple, you know. You won't need to
Yeah.
claim blue-collar workers. It'll be computerized, be robotized, you know, and what else will it be, you know? You won't need Hitler anymore. You'll,
I saw part of that 1984.
1984, it'll be a voice in the wall talking to you.
Yeah.
Big Brother is talking to you, and you won't know who it is, you know. A smiling face painted on the wall with a speaker coming out of it. A computer telling you what to do.
Something.
In that 1984, that author, some things he didn't predict at all, obviously, but other things he predicted. Two-way television sets you could not turn off in your home.
Yeah.
Government would always know what you were saying inside your home. You know. That's around the
That's a
corner. The FBI, I'm sure,
practicality.
can do that now for anyone they want
They
to.
can do it.
They can beam like a laser into a car and pick up the whole
Yeah.
conversation, beam it into a, so today it's for the mafia, and tomorrow it'll be the union organizers, right?
Yeah.
We've had that in the South for years. Martin Luther King was observed. They had
Yeah.
more agents on him than they had on the whole goddamn underworld.
I know. Something.
Well, I've been wanting to get together with you, and I know from the isolation I felt down in Chapel Hill, it was like, I felt absolutely out of it,
Yeah.
no job, a sort of a latent anger, no appreciation of the situation that I was faced with, that kind of thing can affect anybody,
I
if you're-
stayed in the
you're-
South, but it just wasn't in the books.
Yeah.
There was no interest as far as textile was concerned. Yeah.
Well, what are you dealing with? It's a union that would rather, if it has to make compromises, pick up, since Sally Fields portrayed the role, then Crystal Lee Jordan represents a very cheap purchase for a staffer, because she's not going to raise issues by herself. If you're around, you could stimulate her to raise issues, but they know that. Whereas if they keep you around, it's eternally raising different issues. Are they doing the right
What
thing?
has to be done. It
Well,
has
if
to
you
be
don't
done.
question, how can you correct policy,
Yeah.
In effect, not every labor leader is capable of the changes that John L. was. If he made his errors all during the 20s, by the 30s, he was brilliant at knowing how to come out of them, Was he retreated, he was condemned for retreating, but when he saw his opportunity, he was like a general. After that many retreats, he knew how to defeat the goddamn,
He knew it.
mobilize his forces, take his little bit of capital and maximize it and smash through for the greatest victories.